set, ready to go here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Chris Marlowe and Paul Sunderland, our championship final of the Cuervo Gold Crown. The #1 seeded team, Karch Kiraly and Kent Steffes, going up against Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis.
Kiraly and Steffes won the round robin. That buys them lots of time. There's Jim Leonard, our #1 referee.
And he'll be assisted by Butch Martin. So Jim Leonard in the colorful visor, the #1 referee. That's Butch Martin, the referee or umpire #2. 1 game to 15 points for $100,000. The second place team takes home $17,000, so big difference. Kent Steffes on the attack, and he's roofed right off the bat. 6'7" Mike Whitmarsh gets a stuff block.
Big and really learning the game. In years past, Mike Whitmarsh would not make this big dramatic move. Kent Steffes trying to chop the ball down inside the block. Look at Whitmarsh moving his hands, moving his arms, taking away the angle. Very important to get off to a good start.
Steffes, and right down the line, it's out of bounds, 2-0. Kiraly and Steffes coming off a loss last week in Phoenix where they were up 6-1 in a final and lost. They have been playing with much more intensity this week. However, Lewis and Whitmarsh jumping on them early, and Lewis and Whitmarsh generally considered the underdogs in this one.
I think they're a big underdog, but the evening factor, maybe Kent Steffes feeling a bit of the pressure here, although he has won a Gold Crown event in the past. But in the last couple of weeks when Kiraly and Steffes have lost close finals, it's Steffes that has really faltered down the stretch, and here's a chance to make up big time to his partner, Karch Kiraly.
Kent Steffes is 24 years old. He's won over $800,000 in career money, and he dials up an ace. Now it is 2-1. Whitmarsh and Lewis lead. So Steffes serving from the windy side. The wind coming in his face. We think it's the good side.
Well, the wind has been changing direction, but at this point in time, Kiraly and Steffes occupy the good side.
Little cut. Steffes is there to tie it up at 2. Not yet. Lewis gobbles it up. Trying to save point. Louis. Karch with a dig. Kiraly. And Louis there again. Trying to save point once again. Lewis. Steffes. See ya. We are tied at 2. Our championship final, the Cuervo Gold Crown.
A lot more emotion early on the part of Kiraly and Steffes. You can see Karch Kiraly tracking the ball high up into the wind. Steffes ripping the ball cross court out of the middle from the right side. But Lewis and Whitmarsh had 2-3 chances within that rally.
Steffes ace right down the pipe for Kent Steffes. So Steffes rebounds after giving up the first couple of points. Steffes and Kiraly score 3 in a row, and they lead here by 1. More Pro Beach Volleyball action from Clearwater Beach, Florida after this timeout.
Well, here I am. 3 friends, Mike Whitmarsh, Karch Kiraly, Brian Lewis. Louie and Whitty, welcome to Classics. You're now officially legends.
Thank you, Geeter. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Being here.
Thanks for having us.
Louie, I'm going to start with you. Clearwater, Florida. What does Clearwater mean to you?
Good times and really bad times. First win ever, 92 with Pat Powers. Beat one of the most recognizable teams ever, St. John and Randy. Pat blocked Randy maybe 6 or 7 times, tackled me in the sand. We had a great party that night.
Whitty, Clearwater. Why is it such a special place to the players?
It was one of the big Cuervo events that everybody wanted to win, not just for the money, but the prestige that went with it. There were three Cuervo events, Boulder, Clearwater, and Santa Cruz, and you always wanted to win one of those big ones, but usually you had to get through Karchy and Kent to win it, so that made it a little more difficult.
Now, Karch, whenever I talk to the players that used to play a long time ago, they all say Clearwater was such a great stop. Is it safe to say it's kind of the Manhattan Beach of the East Coast? You guys looked forward to it? Like the Manhattan Beach Open?
I did. I love playing on the west coast of Florida. The sand there is white. I mean, Fort Myers was the same way, really clean. We just had great fans there who were really into it. It was the essence of, when you think of beach volleyball and the party atmosphere around it and the fun that goes along with it, and put in with the warm water and the beautiful beach that they have there, it was an awesome event.
And the hotel, too. You could just fall out of your room right onto the court.
You guys probably did that, right?
Oh, a few times.
The parties were epic. There's no doubt. It didn't get any better than Clearwater.
No, but Louie's right. It's not often on tour that you can have the hotel, the players' hotel, right there on the sand, and nobody has to drive. You don't need a car all weekend, and so things got a little out of control sometimes.
Yeah, standard.
Some
Safe
people
playing.
can
I like
attest
it.
to.
It was good. That's the way it should be.
Louis, anything you remember about that particular day, the conditions, the build-up?
I remember the whole atmosphere with Cuervo being the title sponsor and them just embracing the whole event and making it. There was just a lot of aura involved, and there was a good little wind going, and Whitty was on fire, and I think that, you know, he had too much fun during the course of the week, and then he got a little too hot. Maybe he had to get a little IV before, but I think the very next weekend he figured out that he needed just to do a little salt pills, and he would have been fine. So yeah.
That was
Great
just
place.
pure volleyball back then. I mean, Cuervo was such a great sponsor. It's glad that I'm glad they're back in now, and it was just awesome, pure volleyball.
And the stands didn't come up to the court. You actually had people just sitting in the court, and the stands were behind.
Beach chairs. They got the beach chairs all the way. They got there early in the morning.
The
We walked out
couches,
after
buried
breakfast.
kegs.
The fans are ready to go.
Big fan of the buried keg.
Oh yeah.
Lost art.
The lost art, you know, it's hidden, it stays cool, really no one knows about it except for all the red cups that fly around.
Yeah, Karch and Kent were kind of like the Yankees, you know, they won all the time, so the crowd kind of got behind the underdogs,
I
and Louis
noticed
and I,
the
and we
crowd.
wanted to see a close game.
Really favoring Louis and Whitty.
Yeah, they
That was
wanted
my
us to come back.
That was my first time ever meeting Karch in a final, so it was very special for me. Watching him grow up, and when I watched Karch play in the '84 Olympics, that's what made me want to play volleyball.
Stick around. Still plenty more action to come from the 1993 Clearwater Open.
In his career has won 3 Cuervo Gold crowns back in 1989 with Brent Frohoff. He got one in 1991 at Santa Cruz with Steffes, and then last year in Boulder. If you're wondering about 1988, Karch at the Olympic Games leading his team to the gold medal. 3-2 is our score. Lewis bingoes one down the line, dug by Steffes. Chance to get a point. Got it!
That's the difference with fresh legs. The nice dig, and Karch Kirai on his horse with the excellent chase leading to this little poke. You get to the ball early, then it's much, much easier to set the ball accurately.
Kirai with the serve, 4-2. And Lewis turns it out of bounds. So good serving, strategic serving. Now it is 5-2. There is some question about the stamina of Whitmarsh and Lewis, particularly Big Mike Whitmarsh. He has had some IV treatment a little earlier today, and he has had a history of heat problems trying to gut it out. This is a tough format for him.
Well, but right now, points are coming fast and furious. If I were Whitmarsh and Lewis, I would have been tempted to take one of their 2 full timeouts right then and there and try to gather themselves and stop the bleeding. If they don't side out here, there's another unforced error. They need a timeout right now. They need to go sit down and gather themselves. This is starting to become a bit of a rout.
Kirai to serve. 32 years old now. He'll be 33 in November. And they're working on Whitmarsh, trying to tire him out. Big Whit. And right to Karch. Gobbles it up. Oh, and he's stuffed back in his face. Oh, Whitmarsh was there. You can't set the ball too close when Whitmarsh is up there.
Well, Mike Whitmarsh can block the ball. No matter how tired you are at 6'8", he just gets down, jumps, gathers himself, and stuffs Karch Kirai. If Kirai puts that ball away, I'm telling you, this match is over and over quickly.
Brian Lewis serving. He won here at the Cuervo Gold Crown last year. And he whips one hard down the middle. Could be a point coming up. Let's see what Karch can do with it. Louis has it. He can hit on the left. Can't he? Bingo! Brian Lewis last year when he won this event with Pat Powers split $60,000 with Powers. It was the biggest payday he had ever had. He went to the Cuervo celebration party. A woman offered him $60 for his shirt, and he said yes. So he made $30,060 on the venture.
Did he split it with Powers?
No, he did not. Off Whitmarsh. Side out to Kirai and Steffes. Ken Steffes so far wins in Hawaii, New York. He got one in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, along with Adam Johnson. And then last week, thought he had one wrapped up with Kirai and Steffes in Phoenix before Hovland and Dodd came back to beat him. Hovland and Dodd got 3rd in this event. Whitmarsh, nobody there except Steffes. Steffes with a dig, looking for a point. Steffes going to get a good chance right here and a good look. He hits and scores. So Kent Steffes and Karch Karai playing some very, very good defense. They score their 7th point. There's a timeout on the sand at the Cuervo Gold Crown. Karai and Steffes ahead by 4.
So the Clearwater Open is a Cuervo Gold Crown event. Tell me what is a Cuervo Gold Crown event?
First of all, it's a tremendous test because unlike a regular tournament where you have brackets, it's a round robin. So you have to play every single team. So typically, you know, if you qualified, you weren't one of the top few teams, you look at the board, I got to play St. John Randy first, then I got to play Havendad second, and then I got to play, you know, Powers and Louis or Louis and Whitty. You played every single team. It was the ultimate test. And then it was a brutal prize money breakdown. Cuervo would not sponsor the tournament unless out of that $200,000, half of it went to the winning team, and the second place team was way, way less than that. And none of the players liked it, but that was what Cuervo insisted on.
Now, Louis, there were 3 Cuervos a year.
Correct.
How did you get to play in it?
According to how you did throughout the course of the year, they took the top 4 teams for like each quarter of the year. And then if you were in the top 4, you're automatically in. And then they took the next like 16, I believe, and it was a qualifier, and then only 4 made it out from there.
So pretty brutal if you don't make it in.
Brutal. You want to be in that top 4. When you're knowing that you have to place a certain positioning throughout the course of the tournament leading up to it, you really try hard.
Now, you guys were the 4th seed?
Did we sneak in that year?
I think we snuck in the 4th seed.
So when you're there as a 4th seed, and you're watching everyone try to qualify. What do you do? Sit at the beach chair, have a good time?
We used to go to watch those qualifiers, and
Buried
the
cakes?
guys were groveling out there, and we're sitting there in our beach chair, maybe having a cold drink of some kind.
I think it was one year Freddie dislocated his shoulder, and in this show, Scott Friedrichsen's getting no respect there. He was listed, I noticed in the thing, Friedrichser instead of Friedrichsen.
Walmer and Friedrichser.
Yeah.
Right.
The tournament, he dove and just totally.
And he still played and qualified. The guy was amazing.
He had to play all day the day before and then play a total of 2 days in the tournament. And he was blocking every time because I think he was playing with Walmer, right?
With one hand.
So, yeah. So,
What about when you guys would go to a Cuervo event, just seeing the word Cuervo before that, the pressures that went along with it?
I just thought about salt and limes. I really didn't think about pressure.
Jose?
nice cold margarita after the tournament. But like I said, Cuervo was just such an awesome sponsor way back in the olden days. And I'm stoked they're back.
Hav always says he considers it, you know, he considered the majors, the Manhattan Open, U.S. Championships, and the 3 Cuervos. So, you know, did you put extra pressure on yourself going into the Cuervos?
Absolutely. There was a huge amount of prize money at stake, and like I said, it was the ultimate test. You played each of the other 7 teams. There were 8 teams in this tournament. You played each of the other 7. Then they get the standings, and only the top 3 had a chance to win the tournament after playing that brutal schedule.
So what happens?
Everybody
The best
played
team?
The best team,
Goes
Karch
by
and
to the
Kent,
final?
used to just sit in the players' tent, way back there, relax,
And then
maybe
2
read a
and
book
3
or
battled
something.
out and
So
played an
Louis
extra
and I
game.
would have to go play. I don't know who we played. And
We played Havendad
Havendad
to get into this one.
So
Yes.
we'd have to go have a barn burner match, come back in, rest for 20 minutes, and then Karch goes walking out there nice and rested. But that was the benefit from winning the pool play, though. So that's the way it went.
Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this short timeout.
Chris Marlowe and Paul Sunderland. First leg of beach volleyball's Triple Crown right here in Clearwater. The Cuervo Gold Crown. Karch Karai and Kent Steffes tightening it up on Brian Lewis and Mike Whitmarsh. They now lead 8-3. And the crowd doesn't like that call.
I'll tell you, the fans don't like the call because they want a long final. And right now, Karai and Steffes are lighting it up. Karai did indeed touch that ball. Lewis continues to play. That's a missed call by the lead referee. The call was by Jim Leonard that Karai never touched the ball on the block. And Karch, of course, good gamesmanship when he came down. He said, no, I never touched it. And the referee bought it.
8-3 is our score. Whitmarsh blocked by Karai. So the 2-time gold medalist patrolling at the net, and now it is 9-3. Kent Steffes to serve at the Cuervo Gold Crown here in Clearwater, Florida. Along with Paul Sunderland, I'm Chris Marlowe. It's been all Karai and Steffes. Whitmarsh and Lewis scored the first 2 points. Karch and Kent rebounded with 6 in a row. And Karai and Steffes have been working on Mike Whitmarsh as much as they can. Whitmarsh, after the timeout, hits it hard and down. And Whitmarsh and Lewis will have the ball.
Say, Whitmarsh and Lewis cannot get caught up in some negative thinking that this has gone away from them. Remember Mike Dodd and Tim Hovland a couple of weeks ago. You know, they were down and out. Whitmarsh and Lewis have got to keep playing as hard as they possibly can. You never know when you're going to get your second wind. You don't know, Kirai might sprain his ankle. You just have to stay in contention somehow. Got to side out for a while.
Steffes positioning himself at the net to block. One good thing about Kirai and Steffes, both can block and both can dig. Karch wicks one hard. Lewis has it. And Whitmarsh sneaks one inside. Nice play by Whitmarsh. He got a good set from Lewis. Score remains 3-9. Brian Lewis can crank off jumpers very, very quickly.
Serving from the bad side, doesn't have the advantage of bombing that jump serve with a lot of top spin into the wind. Got to be careful not to carry this one out of bounds.
Working on Karch. And Kirai snaps it by.
Okay, I think it really helps Kirai and Steffes, particularly in this tough round-robin format, that they switch off blocking each and every time, depending on who's serving. Come the end of the tournament, when you're playing for first place or getting into the championship round, they're, I think, a lot fresher than the other teams.
9-3 is our score. Kirai and Steffes lead. And a good shot pokey over the top by big Mike Whitmarsh. Continuing Mike Whitmarsh's basketball career, it's kind of a fascinating one. He went to the University of San Diego and averaged 20 points a game. When he came out, he was drafted in the 5th round by the Portland Trail Blazers, the same year that they mistakenly drafted Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. Lewis coming up here, and Louie and Whit get a point. So Whitmarsh gets the rebound and hands off an assist, a dish to Louie, and he pops in a jumper.
Louie flying down the paint here, high and hard off Karch Kirai. The hitter making the adjustment, seeing the blocker, drop his hands into the cross-court angle, hitting high and hard, tooling the block.
Now 4 serving 9. Steffes, and Steffes bingos inside. So Kirai and Steffes have the ball. Karch will serve. If you know anything about Karch, you know he's a devoted family man. How devoted? Well, early in February, he was offered $25,000 for 4 days to play in an exhibition in Italy. He turned it down because he wanted to spend more time with his family. I guarantee $25,000.
Well, he also had a pretty good feeling that he might win a few tournaments out on the Pro Beach Tour in the United States this year, so maybe $25,000 isn't quite enough motivation for him.
$25,000 could have gotten the Italians, the whole Marlowe family, and the whole Sunderland family in their entireties. 9-4. And once again, working on Karch. Karch looks pretty strong today, although Whitmarsh walks it back over. So Whitmarsh, 6'7", extending, and slowly Louie and Whit creeping in.
Now, this is both a setting and a hitting mistake. This ball is set too close. Karch cannot hit it. Ball needs to be a couple of feet farther off the net. Otherwise, the bigger Mike Whitmarsh has the advantage as the blocker. And as Karch was walking back, he said to his partner, got to keep me off a little bit.
Lewis revving it up. Little trouble, and Karch pings one down the line. Karch likes to go cross court. Kind of interesting that Kent Steffes' dad is here today, and he charts Kent and Karch their spiking abilities. His name is Jackson, and both of them like to hit a lot of cross court, don't they? Did you get a chance to look at the sheet?
Well, I just saw all those numbers slapped in continually cross court.
Whitmarsh, and Mike Whitmarsh could have gotten his second win, Paul.
If they can get to 9-6 and move over to the good side, and Brian Lewis gets in some sort of groove serving or defensively, and Lewis right now talking to his partner, just keep going, keep playing as hard as you possibly can, and they're serving Karch here.
And I don't know why, because Karch keeps pounding it through. Whit did stuff him once, so Karch will have the ball back.
I think they're serving Karch to challenge Kent Steffes' setting ability, feeling that Steffes will be conservative, maybe set the ball too far off the net, or get nervous and set the ball too tight, which led to a point earlier on the stuff by Mike Whitmarsh.
9-5, Karch and Kent are leading. Lewis trying to poke one over on the errant pass. So chalk up another point for Kirai and Steffes. We'll take the turn. We're coming back to the Cuervo Gold Crown. Kent Steffes won the most money on the beach last year, over $315,000. However, his partner, Karch Kirai, was voted the most valuable player.
That's because none of the other players on the tour can stand Kent Steffes, or at least couldn't last year.
Whitmarsh just out of bounds. So another point to Karch and Kent. They're trying to force Whitmarsh to hit wide, blocking his line. 11-5 now. Steffes and Karai in control.
That's fatigue. Unforced errors. The line was wide open that time for Mike Whitmarsh, but hard to hear your partner's call when your quads are killing you.
Lewis up high.
I was surprised once again that Karai and Steffes are challenging Brian Lewis. Lewis, throughout the course of the tournament, is primarily a jump server, a defensive player, and a setter for Mike Whitmarsh, who does the bulk of the physical work.
Back to Kent Steffes. And Lewis is there. He went for the cut shot. Oh, and Whitmarsh couldn't get there. It was a long run. And on weary legs, Whitmarsh appeared to stumble just a bit. And a chance for a point goes down the drain. 11-5. Karai and Steffes leading Lewis and Whitmarsh here in our championship final. 2 great days of competition for the 8 best teams on the beach. Whitmarsh thunders one through. So Brian Lewis and Mike Whitmarsh get the ball back. Interestingly, Brian Lewis, a tremendous athlete, he told me his basketball career came to an end when his dad said he was too short. The end of his baseball career came on a 110-degree day during a game in Palm Desert. End of his soccer career, he broke his collarbone. Get the rest of it in a second. Steffes to Lewis. And he can't put it away. Karch speared it back.
Going to have an easy chance here. Have got to convert.
Lewis. And Steffes is there. Didn't get the call. Steffes. Blocked! To finish up on Brian Lewis, the end of his participation on the surfing team at school. His mom didn't like the crowd, but that was it. And Louis bangs one into the gold crown banners out of bounds. Brian Lewis, an avid surfer, as are a number of the players on the Pro Tour. Brent Frohoff comes to mind, Randy Stoklos. Steffes serving, good one. It's 11-6, and double contact called by Jim Leonard.
Mike Whitmarsh, Karch Karai, Brian Lewis, the 1993 Cuervo Clearwater Open. Talk a little bit about the game now. You guys are a young team. Whitty, you and Louis taking on the best team in the world. Everyone knew it.
Yeah, I think it was our second year on tour, but you know, it's funny watching it. We really didn't have any idea what the heck we were doing out there. I mean, I was really bad on a lot of things. Louis he played great, I thought.
That was terrible.
Just you know, I think my biggest problem was passing. Obviously, I didn't know you could actually bend your knees when you had to go pass. I was just kind of leaning over and doing this, and they were going all over the place. Louis was running them down, but oh well.
What kind of strategy going in against Karch and Kent did you have?
My strategy was to serve really hard and serve harder, and then try to keep the ball on the court, basically, and not just, you know, crapping my pants because I was so nervous being in the finals against Karch.
What about you? Now you're the #1 seed. You're playing the young team of Whitty and Louis, but Louis has won this tournament before, so.
Well, he and Pat, you won the year before, right?
Correct.
So he's the defending champion coming in, and even though Louis was young and only a couple of years on the tour, he had already shown that he was capable of winning big tournaments, capable of getting on scary rolls on jump serving. Whitty had already showed that he could get on scary rolls as a blocker, one of the best streak blockers, if not the best streak blocker that we've ever seen on the tour. So that's a scary combination, and you see, I don't remember there, until I checked it, that I don't remember there being that much wind, but that wind can be scary with a jump server and a great blocker.
It was very swirly there. I remember, I mean, it would come off the beach in one direction, but then it would hit the hotel and come back and go shh. A lot of birds I remember flying over the top of it. A lot of birds.
Who would you serve? Mix it up?
Well, a lot of people didn't realize it at that time, but Mike had some like biochemical issues, and he didn't know that as he tried to hydrate and hydrate and hydrate, he was diluting certain minerals and electrolytes in his system, and so this was before you had licked that problem.
Right.
So you can see the little Band-Aid that he's wearing. He would often either cramp or have to get an IV and come back strong. But once we saw that Band-Aid, we figured, well, we're going to try and serve Whitty and see if he lasts, and then he licked that cramp problem, but that cost him numerous times. It took him a long time to figure out exactly what was going on. It was
remember the
amazing that
Whitty-mobile.
Whitty would battle through that every weekend.
Whitty-mobile used to pull out for a lot of finals.
Yeah, I had it close to the court, make it really convenient for me.
The ambulance, you call
I'd
it
play it,
Whitty-mobile?
man.
Straight to the back of the
Straight
trailer.
to the back, load up, and go back out and play.
In fact,
but,
after a year or two, I think this AVP, the crew guys could do it for
Yeah,
you. They just
exactly. Go in the back of the
find that thing for you.
Yeah, I had my own little office in there, but thank God I finally got the answer to it.
Now, Louis, were you considered the veteran in this group, or were you considered the veteran?
We might have came on the same. Did we come on?
We
the
were
same
on the
year?
same
Second year?
exact
Both of us.
time, but I think I was a little younger, maybe. I think that was my 23rd
I hope so.
23rd birthday.
Looking back
Very
on this
next
match now, do you look and go, God, we were green?
Oh,
God, those
so
shorts
green.
I
I
was
mean-
wearing were just terrible. And the sunglasses, God, bad outfit.
We thought we looked
We're
good.
gonna get to that.
After this short timeout, we'll be back with more action from the 1993 Clearwater Open.
Karch was born on November 3rd, 1960 in Jackson, Michigan. He has 61 career victories. That puts him 4th on the all-time list, one behind the greatest of all time, Ron Von Hagen. The put away. So Brian Lewis saying, hey, everybody sit down. I'm going for the jump serve here. His team trailing 12-6.
Lewis just buying some time, stalling, and the referee letting him get away with it.
Whitmarsh and Karch with the spear job. Jump ball. Whitmarsh has got it.
He wins the tap, and it leads to a score. You don't want to set the ball too tight to the net. That's playing right into the big hands of Mike Whitmarsh. Big hands, long arms, and an ability, as tired as he is, to jump. Look how far over the net, couple of feet.
Brian Lewis serving. It's 12-7. Louis and Whitmarsh trail. Could use a couple blocks here. Whitmarsh over the arm of Lewis and the side out. Ryan Steffes, after the loss last week in Phoenix, decided they needed to be more aggressive and get more intensity. Even Kent's dad said that the two boys have to talk to each other a little more, and so far they have been this week. Ball popped up by Steffes, got to go over. Karch touched it.
Tough angle and a bad pass by Brian Lewis.
But a good hit by Brian Lewis. And they'll get the ball back.
Boy, Louis made his weary partner work a little extra to make that play. Look at Louis punishing himself.
And so Mike Whitmarsh will serve. 30 years old. Point coming up for Whitmarsh and Lewis. A great play by Whitmarsh. He tapped it, the soft block, he popped it right up, and Louis was there. So Whitmarsh and Lewis hanging in.
All right, the year is 1993. Popularity, money, the vibe, everything just skyrocketing. But first, let's talk about your gear.
They're like interest rates. They're bound to come back up sooner or later. That's Lambert's famous line. I think he uses that one.
We should have held on to those shorts
Yeah.
probably, but short was in at that time.
Quicksilver's bringing them back, aren't they?
They're back.
They're back.
Retro. They're coming back. I see all the kids wearing them the last weekend.
I noticed the bright colors in the crowd and
Neons.
Neon
the
pink.
neons were,
Yeah.
those were hot.
Karch might have
hot.
started that.
I went to look at that show, and I never, ever remember that pair of shorts that I wore. So it was...
Those were
there were
bizarre,
some
those shorts.
Those were a bizarre pair of shorts I had on. At least I recognized the hat, but I did not recognize the
I
trousers.
remember, I noticed Steffes' Band-Aid he had on his face, too. That was from when he
That
was
was
all about?
a
He shot
paintball
himself with a
incident.
paintball gun, right?
He was trying to run and get across a ravine and landed and hit. And had to wear that Band-Aid for about a year. Yeah, poor. Didn't want to scar.
Now, talk about the money. You guys are all starting to make a little bit of money, have some fun, the responsibility that came along with that, huh? You're making some dough?
Yeah, I mean, the early 90s is really when the sport really took off, which was good for Louis and I, because that's kind of when we came in. But
Timing.
the money was great in the early 90s and mid-90s, and we were out there playing for a lot of money. The players changed their whole frame of mind, before a tournament. They weren't going out and drinking in the bars and eating cheeseburgers. They were in their hotel rooms resting, getting ready to play, because we had a lot on the line.
What about the crowds, the popularity, Karch?
It was awesome. We loved playing, and we had crazy crowds in Clearwater and Fort Myers, and By then, the tour had really established itself outside of California. And Chicago was a huge one. Belmar for many, many years. That was where Whitty was like mayor of Belmar. He won so many times.
Key to the city, actually.
You own a condo there, don't you?
Still have at least one condo. He probably owns the lifeguard tower out there,
The
too.
Belmar Motor Lodge.
Yeah.
Open invitation at all times.
Yeah, you're the only one.
I love that place.
Great beds, and the train just rolls right through the lobby.
Right there.
Yeah.
Now, in Clearwater, the hotel was always right there. You guys played at the same spot all the time.
You're
Right
in
in
and
front.
you're out.
Would you see the same people coming back time and time again every year?
Oh, yeah. I think anybody that actually came to a Cuervo event, once they came and saw one, they're hooked. They're back every
They were
year.
not
I mean,
missing
some of
that.
them would go to all three of them the whole year. I mean, they were just hooked.
When did the Cuervos start? Who's got that stat?
Wow.
Carchi, you're the computer.
Well, I remember the Cuervos in Laguna Beach, where that's what I really saw, the huge giant Cuervo bottle when I was a kid, and I would go down and watch Karch. And
The Gold Crown.
I remember Karch and Ludi's playing Stoklos and Smith down there in Laguna Beach, and that's what really made me want to play, and just the atmosphere and the vibe there. So I think that was probably in the early 80s, 83, 84.
So by '93, the Cuervos were a big deal.
Well, Cuervo had been involved in the sport for a long time. They might even have sponsored the very first professional tournament ever at Will Rogers State Beach in Santa Monica, and that was like 1976 or 77.
I knew he knew something about it.
And then
Don't pretend like
I
you
did.
don't.
I was joking. 30 years later,
You
with
won
my
that,
high school
right?
coach,
Yeah.
we got 13th.
Yes.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur I am, that's for sure. But Cuervo sponsored for a while the biggest tournament, and that was the World Championships at Redondo Beach, which was a crazy tournament too. And then they expanded into what eventually became the Cuervo Gold Crown Series, and that's where it was really big. They would have Santa Cruz and Boulder and Clearwater, and those three were just monster tournaments.
That's why you're here, Carch Barak.
After this short timeout, we'll be back with more action from the 1993 Clearwater Open.
Welcome back to Clearwater, Florida. The Cuervo Gold Crown, Karai and Steffes have a 12-8 lead over Whitmarsh and Lewis, but Whit and Louie are coming back behind strong blocking and powerful hitting. It's now 12-9.
Remember what I said at 9-2? Lewis and Whitmarsh could have thrown in the towel. Tough competition throughout the weekend, and they were certainly tired. But Mike Whitmarsh hanging in here, blocking some balls, and the ball control of Karai and Steffes starting to go awry.
Could be another point. Whit got it!
Now it's Karai and Steffes that need a timeout. Kent Steffes has been unable to pass the ball well, even though he's on the good side at this point in the match.
Well, I'm not so sure the good side is so good anymore because the wind is flapping and gusting and swirling. Timeout by Karai and Steffes, and suddenly their big lead is dwindled to just 2.
When it looked like they were in control at 12-6, Lewis and Whitmarsh would not stop playing. Good chop down the line, and Steffes retreating, trying to get up there with a little double chester, but cannot make the dig.
I'd like to talk about you three gentlemen. Carch, I'm going to start with you, and we're going to talk about Brian Lewis. Obviously, I got to announce Louis, so when I think of Louis, I think great entertainer, the great hands, the best jump serve. Talk about Louis as a player.
He was one of the great entertainers we've had out on the beach, and I think that's a tendency you've seen in every sport. As it gets bigger and the stakes get higher, it's like the charisma and the personalities go down a little. Players start taking it more seriously. They don't feel like they can let loose enough. But Louis was really, he was one of the great entertainers. Whether you were on the other side of the net watching him, although that was tough because he was really had one of the most vicious jump serves and hits that you would face. And we saw some of that in that match.
And you dug every one.
Rocketing these balls, and he would really just lit the crowd up, and few guys could get the crowd excited like Louis could and light a fire under them. And he brought them to life. As they started making their comeback, the crowd just, you could feel it totally go for Whitty and Louis, and a lot of it was because of Louis' entertaining.
Louis was one of the first guys that kind of invented not just the same serve every time, but he must have had 6 or 8 serves.
Yeah.
So he can curve it, he can knuckle it, he can screwball, he can do all kinds of different things. So you never knew what was coming, and that's what really made it hard when your service received with Louis, because you did not know what was coming, but you knew it was coming hard. So at least you knew that usually. But,
I didn't know where it was going.
he knew where it was going.
He didn't know where it was going.
He knew where it was going.
Now,
Trust
Louis,
me.
let's talk about Mike Whitmarsh.
Witty,
Big kid, a Minnesota
nice,
Timberwolves
yeah.
drafted 5th round to go play NBA, and he came out to the AVP, and here you are playing with him.
It was, I remember when I first watched him play in a Laguna Beach Open with his buddy Scott Bailey, where they went on this tour from like Australia to Tavarua, and went all these different weird places and played volleyball and surfed. And I watched him play with Bill Bullion in Fort Myers, and I couldn't believe the foot speed on the guy. I mean, he was the quickest big guy that the tour ever saw at that point. And then his blocking skills were absolutely terrible. But he
No indoor training.
no indoor training. But he was such an amazing athlete. He could jump as high or higher than anybody. And one of the things that I couldn't do as a player at that point was teach him a lot of stuff. And then when he got together with Dodd really took him to the next level and showed him how to be positioned, and you could move your feet and pass, and you could reach a little higher with your arm and hit, a foot over guys. And once he met that mentor and probably one of his best buddies, he took it to the next level and was one of the best players that we've ever seen. And now you see a bunch of guys that are kind of like the Witty, but just in a different capacity. And I think a lot of the big guys today, they couldn't go out and play that style of volleyball back then and cover the whole court, block, serve, receive, and he was the whole package.
One thing that always stood out with me was his transition bump setting. Best ever, maybe.
Best ever, because him and Hav were probably Hav could not set a normal pass, but he could run down into the crowd and dive and set an amazing ball. And Witty did that time and time again. So it was awesome watching him.
Louis makes a good point, because the game, before the rules changed in 2001 and the court shrunk down, there was a lot of space there to cover. And a guy who was a great teammate of mine for many years indoors, Craig Buck, would come out now on the AVP Tour and make a real impact. Somebody who's a big blocker, not a great passer, can set well with his hands. We've got a ton of guys like that now who are in great demand, the great blocker types.
Right.
But I see most of those guys who are excelling now coming out and struggling or floundering for years. In fact, Craig Buck quit the U.S. team thinking, all right, I'm just going to go out and dominate on the beach, and came back 2 months later with his tail between his legs.
Yeah.
It took years and years, and Witty was the only bigger guy to really do that and do it great. You just saw guy after guy just drop off. I can't do it.
One of the things I want to say about Witty, too, is he instilled fear into guys like there never was before, because, like Hart said, he could get on a roll and a streak, and then all of a sudden in the back of your mind, you're like, how in the world am I going to get it by him? I can't shoot it over him because he's going to throw it down. And if I try to hit it, he's going to block it. And then the next one,
I'm not dying or anything right now.
and then so you hit 4 or 5 out and you feel better about yourself.
After this short timeout, we'll be back with more action from the 1993 Clearwater Open.
Mike Whitmarsh, a little rubbery leg, but he is hanging in there. If you look very closely on his right arm, he's got a little Band-Aid there. He's already taken some IV bags today, which is very common in sports. They do it in professional football. Can you see it there? Yeah, there it is right there. And so he will have some IV, which can prolong your play. Not forever. The longer the match goes, the better for Ryan Steffes.
Yeah, but he's got to keep working during the timeouts. I didn't see him drink that much during that timeout. And right now, will determine who wins this championship.
12-10, Steffes hit it out. So just like they did in Phoenix last week, Ryan Steffes going into the tank. It was 11-6, and all of a sudden it's 11-10.
I'll tell you, at 12-8, Steffes was starting to put his big toe into the tank. Now he's in there with both feet, giving up 3 points in a row, and they're going to keep it right on him.
Steffes against Whitmarsh. Got it. So Karai and Steffes have lost all their momentum, and Steffes thinking to himself, what happened to our lead? Maybe a let up. It is tough to play against a guy with cramps. You have this mental thing. He's going to fall down. He's going to fall down. And when he doesn't, you look up and it's close.
Keep playing. And I think, you know, I'm not so sure about letdown, but Steffes is just making unforced errors.
I think letdown. Karai, spectacular dig. And Lewis digs him back. It's 12-11. Karai and Steffes. Louis got it. And Karai really intense now, starting to let it out.
Karch is hot. He's angry at what's happening on the court. I think he's angry at his partner right now. Field goal right there.
And fans chanting Louis. Louis. 12-11. Louis and Whitmarsh. Led once at 2-0. Steffes hit another one out. Unbelievable. It's 12-12. $100,000 once again to the winning team. $17,000 to the second place team. Lewis and Whitmarsh have scored 6 in a row. And Steffes has hit 2 balls out in a row. He's got to get one in. Lewis, oh, he was there. He dug it out of bounds, and now Steffes will try to regroup for his team. More Pro Beach volleyball action from Clearwater Beach, Florida after this timeout.
Now, at this point in the game, you guys are starting to come back a little bit, but I want to touch on the IV story that we talked about real quick. Did you ever identify what the problem was, and how'd you solve it?
I finally got the answer. I must have went to 10 or 12 doctors, and I finally went to a guy up in LA, and he said, try salt pills. And I'm like, oh, God, great. Yeah, right. So sure enough, I went to the store, got salt pills, and I can't remember what year it was, but I remember it was in Seal Beach, and I was playing with Dodd, I think, and I started taking these salt pills, and I'm not feeling any twinges or anything. So I was like, wow, this might be the answer. And we lost early in that tournament, I think, and I think we came all the way through the losers, all the way, and never had to take an IV. So from that year on, it must have been 90, 94, 95, somewhere in there.
So it didn't help
that
Louis
was the
out
answer.
at all.
No.
Louis got that break.
I broke up with him to play with Randy, and the very next week, and he figured it out. And then ended up beating me 2 weeks later.
Now, Louis,
Kids, don't try that at home. I mean, he was popping them like they're going out of style, and for the average person, that would just do horrible things for your system.
Now, Louis, you guys are starting to come back in this game now. So you're getting a little momentum. You're starting to feel good. Talk about that situation. Crowd is backing you.
Kent was having some problems. I think he was having a little flashback, maybe Groundhog Day from the week before, and I wish I could have put all that stuff back together. In hindsight, you know, 50-50. Looking back on it, they were up 6-1 the week before in a game to 7 and lose. And now he can't even hit the ball in the ocean, and we can't even find him. And, you know, I'm serving Karch as hard as I can. I'm hitting balls at Karch as hard as I can because of some, you know, friend of mine who said, you're never going to beat Karch. No matter what you try to do, you're never going to beat Karch. And I'll show him. I'll show him. And then, you know, I remember I had 3 of the hardest swings of my life, and he just went, you know, dug every single one of them.
Yeah, we definitely had Steffes rattled there for a while. And looking back on it, we should have had every ball on him. I don't know why we even let this guy hit it.
You said you were dumb.
Yeah.
We're dumb.
We didn't know what the heck we were doing.
Dumb and dumber.
We were just trying to serve tough from the good side. So, I mean, you just got to serve tough over there. And
what about you? You just trying to hold on at this point? You know you got to lead.
For dear life, all I can think about is the week before.
I saw that. Yep, I saw some signs of weakness there.
We've had that on the Classics before. We've talked about that madness.
6 serves, 6 points, and we lose 7-6.
Karch had to go a little therapy for that, for sure. You know, you've had to do some therapy recently.
It changed the history of the sport if we would have won that game.
That's what I was exactly thinking. We could have changed maybe the whole landscape of volleyball for that year. But we'll never know.
It was not looking good. It was unusual for Kent to hit that many balls out. He usually didn't give them away easily.
I like the part when he hit one out, and then he finally sided out and then went up to the net and kind of grabbed it and was like going, okay, guys, time to reel it back in here. There's wagon wheels flying all over the place.
It was too late at that point. You guys were right back in.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more AVP Classics and the 1993 Clearwater Open.
We're back to action here on the court. 1:44 to go in the game. Should be plenty of time to finish it. 12-12. Karai up against Whitmarsh. Karch.
Gotta come.
Gotta go over. Steffes. has 4 contacts. Good call by referee Jim Leonard.
Different rules indoors as opposed to out on the beach. Indoors, the touch off the top of the block does not count as one of your 3 available contacts. It does on the beach.
Brian Lewis won here last year with Pat Powers. They split $60,000. This would be the biggest payday of Brian Lewis's career, and Mike Whitmarsh. Steffes, and he taps it over the top. Clutch shot by Kent Steffes, as both teams siding out very well right now. You still think the near side, Kent Steffes' side, is the best side?
Well, I think they're on the good side. They're downwind. Indeed, it is changing from cross court towards Whitmarsh or cross court towards Lewis, and Kent feels that the best place to go is down the line. The greater the wind will have an effect on the ball, but that one carried it about 12 feet out of bounds.
In the last tournament that was played, Karai and Steffes were up 6-1 on Hovland and Dodd and ended up losing 7-6 in a double final. They folded down the stretch. Karch to Kent, and Kent rolls one in. This would be a shocking loss for Karai and Steffes after being up so big. At 12-6 at one point. And what a win this would be for Lewis and Whitmarsh.
Karai and Steffes taking a lot of time here talking strategy. They're going to serve Mike Whitmarsh here.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to drop a short one in on Whitmarsh, make him run up.
Maybe the fake block. Go deep middle to Louis.
Lewis pounds it.
I think that was a service mistake. I think they were trying to go cross court to Mike Whitmarsh deep middle, and Brian Lewis just cut it off and took the shorter ball. Mike Whitmarsh moving in, setting the ball well, and watch the speed in Lewis's arm. Just unleashing. Steffes not moving the block in quite far enough.
Lewis with the jumper. We're tied at 12. Steffes down the line, poked up. No, it went down onto the sand. Apparently Lewis got a fistful of sand on the dig, and Karai and Steffes will have it once again. Karai and Steffes led 6-2 and 12-6. Lewis and Whitmarsh came back and scored 6 in a row. We're tied at 12, playing to 15. Good serve. Great serve, great set. Lewis, out! It's out. Karai and Steffes back in the lead, 13-12.
A tough chance and a great set out of the net by Mike Whitmarsh, but Louis just a little too much on it with the win. Brian Lewis again getting to handle the ball, and Whitmarsh is working so hard. This ball is off the net a little bit, but under pressure, Lewis has got to keep it in, going for the tough chance, and Karai and Steffes take the lead on the side change, 13-12.
This just isn't any day at the beach, folks. There's $100,000 at stake. We'll be right back with more Pro Beach after this.
The greatness of Karch Karai, his strengths.
Whew, where do you start?
Your old buddy here.
I used to refer to Karchi as the Michael Jordan of beach volleyball. I mean, it just the all-around skills. Even when I'm doing little camps today, I often refer to Karch with passing or setting. It's all about getting in position and using the proper form. You never saw Karch out of position and be lazy on a pass and lean over kind of like I used to do. He would move his feet and get in position every little time, and he never took a play off. That was another big thing. I never saw him coast, never saw him give up, no matter what the score was, even if he was losing bad to somebody, which was hardly ever.
Never.
Yeah, you had to score that last point, or he was going to go down swinging as hard as he could.
I saw a stat that he was most outstanding offensive player on the tour 5 years running, 90 to 94.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of unheard of.
One of the things I really used to watch and love Karch do was hit balls and warm-ups, because when he was back in his day, in his prime, he really liked to hit the ball really hard and show you that he was going to hit the ball really hard time and time. That's probably why you had 3 surgeries on your shoulder by now.
Yeah, I'm thinking, who are you talking about? Where'd that guy go?
Yeah. The little things that Whitty talks about, that's one of the things that I always tried to, I always wanted to steal certain things from other people's games, and I always watched him with little parts of the game where you would see a guy who would run a ball and bump the ball back over his head, and you'd watch Karch, you'd run, take the extra step, and turn and face and get the ball up to the net. Or his positioning and defense, where he would get himself in that position, and if the ball was hit at him, he was going to dig it every time.
You talked about transition setting a little earlier. I don't know how many times I dropped off the net, all the years playing with Dodd. thinking, you know, Kent would dig it 30 feet back. Okay, I'm going to drop off. No way Karch can go get that ball and set it back to Kent. I'd drop off the net. He'd run and get it. Boom, right on the net. Steffes would bury it. I'm like, God, stay up in the net, you idiot. You're going to put it right there. You don't need to go anywhere.
And Karch, real quick, you played with him the longest, Kent Steffes. What was the biggest strength of Steffes?
Well, Louis reminded me of something just now. I remember that Kent, early on when we were playing, he and his dad was they were both real students of the game, and I guess they got into a big argument because Kent was saying, well, I feel like I should emulate St. John, and his dad was saying, well, I think you should look more at Karch, and you talked about watching certain players on tour, and I disagreed with both of them. I think you look, you know, who's the best passer and try to emulate that person, who's the best setter, and take the best things from everybody. But Kent was, he was just amazingly consistent and played at such a high level all the time. I couldn't believe it how few valleys he would get into. He took the game, and it rubbed a lot of players the wrong way because he did some things like, you know, I don't want to do this interview. Sometimes he wouldn't do the things that Mike Dodd and Tim Hovland and Randy and St. John did so well in promoting the game, going the extra mile to win over new fans. He just honed in on being the best player he could be and not selling the sport. But he took that focus into his training, and he was probably the best conditioned, best prepared guy out there every time. An incredibly well-rounded player, absolutely no weaknesses, and just nails when it came to pressure situations.
Yeah, he hit the same shot every time, line, and it still went down.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more AVP Classics and the 1993 Clearwater Open.
In Clearwater Beach, Florida, the Cuervo Gold Crown. I'm Chris Marlowe with Paul Sunderland. We're set for a big finish. Karch Kiraly and Kent Steffes leading Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis by 1, 13-12. Karch and Kent led 6-2. They led 12-6. Then they let down and made some hitting errors, and all of a sudden Lewis and Whitmarsh charged back, tied it at 12. Kiraly and Steffes just got another point. They lead by 1.
Well, Steffes was finding every inch of beach on Clearwater Beach, Florida, except those inside the court, and really got Lewis and Whitmarsh right back in this match.
Whitmarsh, no block, and he puts it away. So Mike Whitmarsh has rebounded, fatigued early, hanging in the hot sun of Florida.
When they were down 10-5, they're thinking, maybe, you know, 17, 18,000 per second. Not so bad. We've worked awfully hard, but now they are right there, right back in it if they can make a couple of big plays.
Steffes snaps it down. Most of the damage, most of the points that Whitmarsh and Lewis have scored have been on Kent Steffes. Steffes with 4 hitting errors down the stretch. And now Karch will serve. 13-12, Kiraly and Steffes lead.
Steffes has given up 9 points when he's been served. Kiraly only 3.
Whitmarsh through the block. It's out of bounds. That went right through the hands of Steffes. Karch dug it, but it was OB to the right.
And that's a tough ball to dig when it comes through the arms of your blocker. You see the hitter hitting the ball right into the arms of the player in front of you, and you just lose sight of it for that 100th of a second, a dig Kiraly would normally make.
Brian Lewis set on what Paul Sunderland says is the good side, serving into the gusts of wind. Let's see if he goes to Kiraly or Steffes. And a wicked screwball heater goes out of bounds, side out.
And because of the direction of the wind, it forces him to serve the ball at Kiraly. If the wind would just turn on the dial a little bit, he'd be much happier able to get the tough jump serve on Kent Steffes.
Steffes and Kiraly head by a point, 13-12. Lewis, little spin shot. Good shot by Brian Lewis. Officially, Brian Lewis is 6'1", 185 pounds, but he might be a little shorter than that, but he's got great springs, able to put that ball away.
Steffes has received 28 serves so far in this final. Kiraly only 12. Whitmarsh doing a lot of work. He's received 27.
Lewis with a dig.
Long run.
Chance to tie it up at 13. Louis! Not yet. Karch with a dig right back in his face. Karch. Dink. Whit. Can he get it? Karch has it. Trying to put it away. He does. Two balls that Brian Lewis had chances for points. Pretty good sets up at the net. He drills him and Karch digs him back.
That's if Uriah and Steffes go on to win this championship. Those are the key plays. He makes the kill here, but the dig preceding it was clearly the key, and had one earlier in exactly the same situation.
And now a full timeout taken by an exhausted Mike Whitmarsh. Back at the Cuervo Gold Crown, Chris Marlowe and Paul Sunderland. The clock going to be a factor now. 21 seconds remain. It is 13-12. Uriah and Steffes lead. Winner takes home $100,000 off the block and out of bounds. 15 seconds to go. So Louie and Whit need to tie it up right here if they can.
They'll get a couple of more chances. The crowd getting into it, and they have adopted a favorite. And Lewis and Whitmarsh is it.
If we are tied at the end of regulation, we go to next point wins, sudden death. Lewis. Trouble. Karch puts it away. 12 seconds to go, or just under 12, we should say. And now Steffes and Uriah want to try to run out the clock if they can.
And if they score here, if they can get the 14-12 lead, this match is over, because there just will not be enough time for Lewis and Whitmarsh to score a couple.
Louie and Whit need to terminate real quick. Whit got it.
Mike Whitmarsh, Karch Uriah, Brian Lewis. It's 13-12, the 93 Clearwater Open, Cuervo Gold Crown. 6 seconds left, Whitty, on the clock. Now, how much did the clock play in your mind?
Oh, you're always aware of it. With 6 seconds, we realized we had to score on that point. Otherwise, Karch and Kent were going to run out the clock. So Louie and I just got back there and knew it was now or never, and we had to go out there and try to score that point and force overtime.
At what point do you guys start looking at the clock?
Pretty much in the last minute, you're looking at the clock, watching it tick down every single play and figuring out where you are and how you're going to position yourself. And if you're so many points down, you're going to try to do some stupid things.
It's funny, if you're losing, it feels like the clock's going really fast. But when you're winning and you want the clock to go, it feels like it's
can't go fast enough.
Because this was a new thing, the clock. So you guys are getting used to it, as are the fans and everybody else, right, Coach?
Yeah, they brought it in to make the matches more TV friendly, because without a clock, they could go an hour and a half, 2 hours, and if you only had an hour of live television or whatever, it just messes everything up. So this clock only ran when the ball was in play, so if you missed a serve, it was only a second or two. But clock management became something that we had to learn about and figure out, and how to play slower, maybe pass the ball a little higher to try and run out the clock. But when you were ahead, it just like that clock was slower than the tortoise.
And if you guys tied it, it goes to overtime. It's a one-point game. Whoever scores the next point wins.
Next point wins, exactly.
So Louie, 13-12, you guys are talking about it.
Now or never.
Now or never. Any certain strategy we want to look for here? Get the ball in.
Get the ball in and hope for the best.
Let's see what happens.
6.9 seconds to go. Lewis and Whitmarsh have to score here or it's over. They need to tie it up. It is 13-12 to send it to sudden death. Crowd going bananas. They want Louie and Whit. They want sudden death.
And Lewis told Whitmarsh to go for the jump serve.
He does.
Not very tough.
Karch. Well, Lewis got the dig. And Karch digs him right back. This is for the win. Karch. Whit has to put this ball away. If he does, we go to sudden death. Whitmarsh. He does! Sudden death! The Cuervo Gold Crown final coming down to sudden death. It has never happened before. Whitmarsh and Lewis, Uriah and Steffes. Next point wins. Steffes will serve first.
Championship point for both teams every time they serve. 30 seconds on the clock, and that's only for side change purposes.
Lewis. He puts it away. So now Lewis and Whitmarsh.
And now it's Whitmarsh who's doing the yelling. At 10-5, he was not saying boo.
Lewis and Whitmarsh were down 6-2. Trail 12-6.
Surprised that Lewis gets a swing. He's got the much fresher legs, and now he is going to jump it up with gusto.
Crowd chanting Louie, Louie. For the Cuervo Gold right here. Championship point. Karch off. Whitmarsh side out. Karai and Steffes hanging on.
Well, I am really surprised, in spite of the favorable wind and in spite of the good side, bad side, that Lewis is not serving Steffes. You got to get the ball on him.
Karai will serve. Second championship point for Karai and Steffes. Serve a lollipop to Witt. And that's it. On a double contact, Karai and Steffes win the Cuervo Gold Crown.
Ladies and gentlemen, nice hand from Mike Whitmarsh and Sweet Louie, your champions.
The Cuervo Gold Crown has ended dramatically. Karch Karai and Kent Steffes hold off Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis.
Well, gentlemen, start those therapy bills. 14-13, Karai Steffes over Whitmarsh and Louie in overtime. Louie, I got to start with you. Talk about that moment and what it did to you.
It basically crushed me. I think it was the worst loss I've ever had in my life, bar none. The next night, I flew out for an exhibition. I didn't come out of my room for 2 days, and it was my birthday. Ordered room service for 6 straight meals.
Were you getting phone calls from people?
I didn't answer the phone. I unplugged the phone. I did not leave my room for exactly 2 days.
When you look back at the set now, what do you think? That set?
It was a bad set, but I think that one no-touch call probably been the difference when Karch said he didn't touch it and he did touch it.
Technically, we really
That
won.
was like the 1 point difference right there. We probably should have ended up winning that match.
That set would never happen.
Never. But looking back on it, I think I learned so much from that match. I was just like, you know, you're really dumb. You should be a lot smarter. Number one, Karch was on top of his game. The other guy really wasn't on top of his game. And I had like 3 or 4 swings in that match. And I don't know why I kept hitting him, but Karch, as hard as I could, and he dug every single one of them every single time. And looking back, after that match, when I was in my room for 2 straight days, I went, you know what? Next time when I get there, I'm going to be hitting him at the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy.
Yeah.
What do you think when you, because you and I talked on the phone, what were you thinking when you watched that play? You take some blame for that, don't you?
It was rough. Oh, I take all the blame. It goes back to me not knowing how to pass and, you know, lock legs and, you know, doing this. And, you know, I just shot it too close to the net. I mean, it was totally my fault. But, you know, that play doesn't even really bother me. There's the one right before, I think we won the coin flip, took the good side. Karch had the served Louie. Louie sided out. And then Louie serving on the good side with the wind in. And I'm up there just praying for an ace, make things easy. Great serve right in the middle. I think Karchy passed it. And
Took away Kent's serve.
Pretty doggone close to the net that Knucklehead should have got. But I didn't, you know, I didn't get over the net. And I remember it just off of my fingertips. I was,
Still haunts you.
Yeah.
That would have been a year or 2 later, I would have got that thing.
Now, how did you feel? I mean, when the whistle blows, that's 14-13. We're talking about $100,000. Winning by 2 points, you know, that wouldn't have been the game. I mean, do you like that 1 point and the game ends like that?
That's the only time I ever remember the Cuervo and $100,000 in prize money being on the line in a sudden death situation where every serve is tournament
Life or
point.
death, yeah.
Because you didn't win by 2, you won by 1. So 13 all. They serve, it's tournament point. Or actually, we served first, Louie put it away. Right. So we had a tournament point. Now they get the ball back. Tournament point, they serve me, I put it away. And I'm still just trying to get it in. The wind's at my back, so I just give
It wasn't a hard
Witty
serve either.
a lollipop serve.
Got to move your feet, Mike.
Yeah, got to move your feet, bend your knees.
I was just getting it in. I did not want to give them an out serve to give them tournament point back.
Should have watched the Karai video on
Interesting way for the match to end, but heartbreaking actually. At the end, you and Kent with the interview, you didn't seem too happy about the game, really. I mean, you didn't feel you played
Like we
great.
just walked out of a funeral or something.
Yeah.
It was, all 4 players were disappointed. I don't think anybody wanted that. The match was so exciting. They had such a great comeback. Nobody wanted it to end like that on a play where maybe it was a throw, maybe it wasn't, but it wasn't the best play to end it on. We wanted I wanted to end on a big rally, a dive, a set,
Just
put
one
it away.
play. I mean, it wasn't like watching Phil Mickelson, you know, double bogey 18 to lose the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a slow and painful death. It was just one play and done.
But like I said, it might not even have came to that. I mean, Louie hit 2 or 3 balls so hard, I mean, that nobody else would have dug except Karch, because Karch did I'm just, you know, watching this.
It really was. Yeah, it really was a classic epic battle. I mean, your final thoughts when you look back. I mean, what an honor to have played Karch and Kent in this kind of a match and to be right there.
Not really. Anger, pain,
nothing. I tried to sugarcoat it a little bit for you. No?
Everything happens for a reason. Let's go with that, Louis.
All right. Still can't live with it. I was angry for a week after watching that thing. Kind of forgot about it. But...
Well, hey, I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Louis, good to have you here. Karchi.
Thanks for having us.
Serve a lollipop to Witt. Oh. And that's it. On a double contact, Karai and Steffes win the Cuervo Gold Crown.